UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Magomedov. Welcome to another UFC prediction and analysis video presented by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by Zan, I go by Harris as usual. Fight by fight breakdown, fight by fight analysis from that betting perspective specifically. We want to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and some parlay action towards the end of the video as well. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. We definitely appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here at Boxing MMA Picks as well. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. For this UFC Fight Night taking place at the Apex, we have 12 fights overall, even split. 6 of them are going to be on the prelims. 6 of them are going to be on the main card. Let's get started right away with fight number 1 of our prelims. We are taking a look at Alexandr Romanov versus Blagoy Ivanov. For Romanov, he lost to Alexander Volkov. That was back in March. He's on a 2-fight losing streak now. Power wrestling style, good takedowns, good takedown entries, good takedown technique, has decent speed with those takedown entries as well, good top position to go along with it. Doesn't really have the best striking, doesn't have the best striking defense either. He will have some explosive moments, but otherwise just really look for him to be on the back foot, kind of get close, look for the tie up. Doesn't really have it on the feet. Huge red flag with Romanov as well. Cardio, not really durable, especially with his style offensively. So even if he gets his way, he'll tire out. If he doesn't get his way, he'll tire out as well. So that's definitely a red flag to look out for. And he's going up against Blagoy Ivanov, who had a unanimous decision loss to Marcin Tybura back in February. He's a southpaw. Expect him to jab. Expect him to use the fakes, use the feints, fight effectively from distance. He has pretty good power, good combinations. Going to use that jab effectively, as I mentioned. Going to be able to close distance effectively. And I really like the way that he gets combinations going. He will include that clinch, the takedown here and there, though it's not an active part of his game when you consider he averages just 0.78 takedowns per fight. Otherwise, he's tough, has a sturdy chin. He's never been knocked out before, and steady cardio, steady pace about him as well. I think the key stat in this fight is Blagoy Ivanov's 70% takedown defense. Not amazing by any means. Also never really took on a pure wrestler, at least in the UFC before, right? But it is worth noting that he's never given up more than 1 takedown in any of his fights. I can't help but go with Ivanov here. Romanov should win. I mean, he is the favorite. He should be the better talent. He should be the fighter with the higher ceiling. And again, he has that dominant style with the wrestling. But just with what I'm seeing, he's starting to take on real competition, and he's showing to be too unreliable from a cardio perspective for me. I think that even if he has a great first round, I can't really trust him to do it in that second round, do it in that third round. And for Blagoy Ivanov, his striking is not amazing, but it's effective, right? Especially against a tired Romanov past that first round. I can see Ivanov outstriking him pretty convincingly, stuffing those takedowns with his decent takedown defense, ultimately being able to keep it on the feet as the fight progresses. And on the feet is where Romanov is not that good. So I think this is going to be one of those fights. Romanov takes round 1, probably convincingly, but Ivanov wins the fight. I'm actually starting off with the underdog, Blagoy Ivanov, to get it done.
Yeah, we got a good fight. Heavyweights, first fight of the card. One thing you got to factor in with this Romanov guy, man, he's a beast, right? If he comes in shape, if he comes in big, in shape, ready to go 2-3 rounds, he should win this fight pretty easily. And but lately, his last 2 fights, he hasn't been looking good physically. Even at the weigh-in, the Volkov fight, he did not look good there. So I'm not sure really how much he's putting into these fights, because it looked like he didn't train much his last 2 fights. You can't really go far in these fights. And if you look at his record, it kind of tells you the story. He lost 2 fights against Volkov Tybura. First round, he looked good aside from the Volkov fight, but his cardio is a problem after that first round, unless he's fighting a Chase Sherman, Jared Vandera. Juan Espino, he lost that fight. So he has to get you in that first round. He has a good win against Rogerio de Lima in that first round. Made me think that this guy could be the next Brock Lesnar type of fighter. But his cardio is his concern here. He's not coming into these fights in shape. And against Blagoy, who's a sambo fighter, he's more well-rounded. So he might get taken down. If he survives that first round, I think he's going to win the next 2 rounds. I think it's going to be a clear win with his striking, keeping it on the feet at that point. Romanov's not going to have that cardio. So the fight can go one of 2 ways, man. It can be Romanov gets a win in the first round early. But if this goes past the first round, get your bet in and go on the Blagoy side, because he's going to win the next 2 rounds. He's more conditioned. And again, like Harris said, he's the far better striker. He might even finally get his finish here. So I'm going to go Blagoy here, surviving that first round. If he does survive the first round, I think he wins the next 2 pretty easily.
Second fight of our prelims, Ivana Petrović versus Luana Carolina. Petrović, UFC newcomer. She was a flyweight title holder in the previous promotion that she's coming from. Southpaw on the feet. She's a pretty decent striker. Not really a commanding striking style by any means. Kind of just one shot at a time. Her setups aren't really the best. But again, she's decent in that department, maybe at best. I've seen her land takedowns. It seems like her game is predicated on the takedowns. Her top control's active. Position over forcing anything, which is good from a control perspective. She wants those minutes on top, right? Nothing really special defensively, that said, if she's taken down. But that probably won't matter in this fight, although she isn't afraid to pull guard. So we're going to have to watch out for that. Luana Carolina, on the other hand, split decision loss to Joanne Wood. That was back in March. That's 2 losses in a row for Carolina now. She has a Muay Thai style. She is a slow starter, not really the most active striker, but she looks good when she starts to put those shots together. She has that ability to kind of kick it into that second gear. She keeps the fight from distance, technique not the cleanest, striking speed not the best, but she's not afraid to go at it with her opponents. Probably key stat for this one, 78% takedown defense, at least on paper. She defends it pretty well, pretty actively. But she has given up 2 takedowns in each of her last 3 fights. So let's see how that plays into this one. I think it's a really interesting fight because Petrović coming in as a sizable favorite is almost surprising, right? I'd consider this to be a big step up in competition for Petrović. I'd consider this, in some ways, a step down in competition for Luana Carolina based on who she has faced lately. But I'll say this, Petrović is the right pick for this fight, the smarter pick for this fight. I think she has the more logical path to victory, the cleaner path to victory with those takedowns, with that top control. I think Carolina, like she always does, she's going to make it scrappy. She has that toughness, and she can be a lot to handle for her opponents. I can't confidently say Petrović will be able to handle the test, so I think you want to be very careful with a fight like this. But from a prediction perspective, I will be picking Petrović to do so, just based on Carolina just not really having any clear paths to victory otherwise. So I like the newcomer. I think her ground game will take over and allow her to win this fight. But be careful from a betting perspective.
Yeah, this fight, man, is real tricky, man, because even though Ivana's coming in as the Aries champion, undefeated, she's fought a bunch of cans on her record, and her game is pretty much top control, getting you to the ground, getting on top, and she's really good when she gets the fight there. But her takedowns are not the best, and her striking, to me, is needs a lot of work. Seems a bit green, right? So Luana Carolina's been in the UFC, has dealt with grapplers such as Lupita Godinez. I think in this fight, if she could keep the fight up with Lupita, I think she should be able to keep it up here. But if she's not able to, I think she's gonna have a hard time getting back up to her feet if Ivana can get her down. So this fight can go one of 2 ways. Ivana gets her way with the takedowns, or we're looking at Luana Carolina doing enough to keep it on the feet, even if she gets taken down the first round, surviving. And then, as you know, it gets harder as the fight goes on. I think Luana is improving on the takedown defense. I think getting this matchup, she's able to prepare for this fight, knowing that Petrović is going to be looking for these takedowns, looking to get this to the mat. Because on the feet, I think Luana is not the greatest striker, is not the most technical striker. She might not even be, Petrović might be the more technical striker in this fight, but the thing about Luana is she's able to land. She's able to mix up her striking really well. It makes it look like she has striking. And I think in this fight, she can outland Petrović on the feet, doing enough to keep it on the feet. And I think she can do enough to outstrike her, land the better points, and get the win here. Ivana has to show me more. She hasn't really fought anyone. And when you look at Luana, she's been in the UFC. She has some wins as well. So I'm going to go Luana here to pull off the upset here.
Third fight of our prelims, Guram Kutateladze versus Elves Brener. One of the biggest favorites on the card, Guram Kutateladze. It's been a year since his split decision loss to Damir Ismagulov. He moves well, good in and out movement, good ability to fight coming forward, solid boxing, big kicks, a lot of explosiveness, good combinations as well. He has a ton of K1 experience under his belt, so the kickboxing is legit. Good takedown defense. If he is taken down, he does have good activity, shows that he's knowledgeable with his grappling, keeping himself safe, good at working his way back up. And the cardio is there. I've seen the cardio hold. He doesn't really tire out at all. Good continuous pace, good continuous forward pressure on top of that. Elves Brener, on the other hand, a split decision win over Zubira Tukugov. That was back in February. Curious to note, he was a big underdog in that fight as well. Shoot to box product, right? Fits the style. Think about guys like Charles Oliveira, Alan Nascimento, guys like that. Decent striking, probably nothing special, but he is a really dynamic striker. Decent jab, active calf kick game, nasty calf kick at that. He's poised, doesn't really force the game by any means. Also look for some switch stance out of him. Also has some solid takedowns from what I'm seeing. Good controlled aggression with his top game. Several wins via submission as well. His takedown defense isn't great, however, but he is active off of his back. He can work his way back up for sure. Brener showed me that he can compete at this level in his debut, but I think Kutateladze should be good as the big favorite here. Kutateladze is the far better striker, in my opinion, the far more dangerous striker, in my opinion. I think he's going to be okay with that dynamic style that's coming from Brener. I don't think Brener will be able to land takedowns in this one. Again, Kutateladze has good takedown defense. And flat out, I trust Kutateladze's cardio more, right? I see him pushing that pressure, pushing that pace, keeping it on the feet, ultimately having his way in this one. So Guram Kutateladze as the big favorite will be my pick to get it done.
Yeah, I definitely I'm on the Guram side as well, man. I'll make it quick, man. I think he's the more well-rounded guy. Good grappling. He can avoid the takedowns. He's the far better striker, but he's fighting a guy that will go for home runs. He's with Shootbox. So Shootbox, I'm sure those guys train home run shots, man. These guys, they'll take risk. They'll throw a flying knee. They'll throw a. These guys can finish a fight, man. If you give them an opening, even if you're the better fighter, all they need is one opening, and he fits the mold, man. So you gotta factor in that the way those guys fight, even if they're losing, they're going for the kill every shot. So he could definitely throw up some crazy acrobatic strike and surprise Guram. And I would not be surprised, but I gotta go with Guram because you're outside of some highlight reel finish. I see him winning this fight. I think he's the better guy. I think you can keep it on the feet, the better striker, outpoint him on the feet if he wants. Even he can get a finish in this fight as well. So I'm going to go Guram here to get the win. And in a fight that he's clearly the better guy, but you still got to factor in shootbox guys. they know how to finish. So you got to be careful.
Fight number 4 of our prelims, Yana Santos versus Karol Rosa. Featherweight fight here. Santos is on a 2-fight losing streak. She lost to Holly Holm via unanimous decision back in March. She has a Thai boxing style. Look for that forward pressure from her. Look for the kicks. Moves with aggression. Kind of forces it a bit. Really likes those Thai clinch situations as well. That's how she scores a good amount of her points. That includes solid clinch work against the cage as well. Just 45% takedown defense. I think that's going to be a very relevant stat for this fight, especially noting that she gave up 4 takedowns in her last fight to Holly Holm. Karol Rosa, on the other hand, unanimous decision loss to Norma Dumont back in April. Solid stand-up, Muay Thai style, stays in the pocket. She's going to use a solid jab. She's going to use a pretty solid calf kick as well. She can strike first. She can kind of play counter striker. She can put good combinations together with a more patient approach to her striking. She can also land takedowns. Solid on top, good activity, strong ground and pound to go along with it. Also a solid clinch game. She can control you, keep you against the cage as well. Important to note, this is a short notice fight for Karol Rosa, despite Rosa being the favorite here. That's going to make this even trickier to assess what you think is going to happen. What makes this fight even trickier on top of that is that this fight was supposed to take place at 135 for Yana Santos. And now, because it's short notice, getting Karol Rosa in there, it's now going to be a fight at 145, right? I never really thought Santos was the biggest 135er to begin with. So she is going to be at that weight disadvantage, that size disadvantage against Karol Rosa. I think Santos is going to run into the same issues that she did against Holly Holm in her last fight. I think she's going to try to play that clinch game with a fighter that's going to be physically stronger than her. Stylistically, Rosa is a lot more reserved. So Yana may be able to force that pressure. She may be able to force that pace. And that could be a lot for Rosa to handle, right? Especially on short notice. But I'm going to trust that Rosa gets it done, even in this short notice spot. I'm ultimately trusting her decision-making here. I'd expect Rosa to slow down the pace. I'd expect her to successfully find takedowns in order to put at least 2 rounds in her favor. Can't be confident on either side, though. Both fighters have shown vulnerabilities, and again, the variables that are attached to this as well, the short notice, the 145. But from a pick perspective, I still got to look at it analytically, and I land upon Karol Rosa to get the job done.
Yeah, Karol Rosa all day, man. I'm not Yana Santos. I'm not impressed with her, man. I don't think she's a good fighter. She only scores when she's in the clinch, when she's in open range. She doesn't really get anything going in the striking open range. She usually depends on being the bigger girl in there, the more physical girl in there. Against Karol Rosa, who just fought a strong girl, I don't see her being able to utilize size or anything like that. I think on the feet, I think Karol Rosa is far better. And the grappling, I can think Karol Rosa is better there as well. Again, like I said, I'm not impressed, man, with Yana Santos. I believe she's like a lower level Megan Anderson, if you remember her. She was cut from the UFC, I believe. But I'm not impressed, man. So I think she's pretty basic. And I think Karol Rosa actually has some skills to her game. I think Karol Rosa gets it done how she wants.
Fight number 5, Joanderson Brito versus Westin Wilson. Now we have the biggest favorite on the card, Joanderson Brito. Huge favorite in this one, almost not worth betting by default. Either way, he beat Lucas Alexandr back in October. That's 2 wins in a row now for him. He's introduced as a striker, a lot of movement on the feet, a lot of forward pressure. He's going to swing big. He has really good power behind him, but he's patient in his setups, right? Active clinch game. He'll kind of muscle his way into level changes, into takedown attempts. Has solid takedowns to that point. High level grappling to go along with it as well. Westin Wilson, UFC newcomer. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. 11 of his 16 wins are via submission. That's the first thing that you want to notice with him. From a striking perspective, look for that sort of light on the feet, karate-esque type of style, kick heavy approach, almost Wonder Boy-ish from that perspective. He's ultimately looking for the clinch and for the grappling opportunities. Not really the strongest wrestler, but grappling wise, he definitely makes good decisions. Another short notice fight here. Westin Wilson, short notice replacement in this one. 34 years old, shaky record, making his UFC debut. He's never really beaten anyone of quality. So I mean, you see Brito as the huge favorite. There's no reason to believe that Wilson gets the better of Brito here, right? This fight ultimately will be Brito's to lose. Striking will be a lot more dangerous, a lot more effective. He should be physically stronger, allowing him to get the better of clinch situations. And his grappling should be as good, if not better, than Westin Wilson's. Maybe a grappler's chance for Wilson to get it done. Highly doubt it, though. Brito should win. A quick finish wouldn't surprise me. But like I said, at these odds, a fight is still a fight. I can't touch this one from a betting perspective.
No, I mean, this is gonna be a beatdown, man. Like whoever set this fight up, man, should be questioned why, and needs to be brought in the boardroom because this Westin Wilson guy, yeah, like you said, you hit the nail in the coffin with the karate stance and the karate style. He does have some grappling, jiu-jitsu. He doesn't have wrestling. He does, in my opinion, it's not that good. And but he does have good jiu-jitsu. He does have good karate. But in the whole existence of UFC, there's only been two karate guys that have done good. Wonder Boy and Machida. And it tells you that karate is not what they told us when we were kids, right? When we were kids, we thought karate black belt, stay away, right? And UFC has told us that these guys are good, but they're not as good as we thought. And this guy, Westin Wilson, his karate's not going to work here, man. Brito's going to hit some heavy shots when they get close, get some takedowns when he wants. He's going to stay out of submissions. He's going to hurt this guy, man. So I like Joanderson, Brito here. This fight should not have been made. And I just think that overall, he's the far better fighter. And as far as finishing capabilities for Wilson, I don't see many options there, right? And I don't think he's going to win a decision. I don't think he's going to get a knockout. I don't think he's going to get a submission. So I really think I understand why the odds are like this. I got to go Brito here, utilizing his physicality and getting a finish or winning a 3-round decision.
All right, fight number 6, final fight of our prelims, Kevin Lee versus Rinat Fakhretdinov. Welterweight fight here. Kevin Lee last competed on Eagle FC. That was 16 months ago, if you remember that fight. He beat Diego Sanchez. Last competed in the UFC August 2021. Striking is solid. We know he has good boxing IQ. We know he has good overall kickboxing. The jab is good. The timing is good. Good explosiveness. Good power as well. Likes to stay in his opponent's face. Likes to keep that pressure on. We know that Kevin Lee is a decorated wrestler as well. That's definitely his strong suit, despite the good striking. Good top control. Really good ground and pound. Good IQ to go along with that. However, his major red flag, of course, is that cardio. He's really only got one solid round in him before he's severely compromised, and that's costed him, right, from being taken really seriously and sort of building the legacy that we thought he could build at one point in time. Rinat Fakhretdinov, on the other hand, unanimous decision win over Brian Battle. That was back in December. Big power. The hands are solid. Doesn't really overly expose himself, doesn't really put himself in danger despite that power. High pressure, high pace on the feet, sort of that true Khabib Dagestani style on the feet. But sort of more importantly, the wrestling is there, right? The good entries, the good takedowns, good chain wrestling. He's looking for that top control by any means possible. 12 total takedowns landed in 2 UFC fights. Very important here. And his cardio has been more than there throughout those fights, still being able to land takedowns in that 3rd round, still looking fresh in that 3rd round. So let's see how that factors in this one. Of course, this fight is about the return of Kevin Lee. Stylistically, not much has changed with Kevin Lee. It's only been since August 2021 that we last saw him in the UFC. He still presents the same major red flags that really can't ever make you confident in betting on him, right? Unfortunately for Kevin Lee, I think Fakhretdinov is a bad stylistic matchup for him. I think Kevin Lee will be the better striker. even if we say their wrestling is equal, I think the key difference in this one is that the one round before Kevin Lee gasses out, right? Like I want to see Lee win. I want to see him have 3 round cardio. I want to see kind of a renaissance in his career. He's still only 30 years old. But I have to sort of make what I believe is the much smarter pick here. Rinat Fakhretdinov via cardio, via wrestling stalemate, via higher pace in that first round, and completely watching Kevin Lee gas out in the second and third. I got to go with Rinat Fakhretdinov to get the job done here. So he is going to be my pick.
Yeah, one big thing I want to see in this fight is the weigh-in, man, because Kevin Lee can make 155, man. This guy, I know he had issues in that weight class, but Renat's a guy that can make 185. So the size difference is going to be massive in this fight. The strength is going to be big. Renat's a much bigger guy, much bigger body, much bigger skeleton. When you look at the striking from Kevin Lee, yes, he should be the better striker in that first round or in early on in the fight. But Rinat has that, not Khabib style, but Khabib level of striking. It tells you it has a lot of work needs to be done. He can definitely improve, but Khabib's striking is not the greatest, but it's not good at all. But his striking is effective. And Renat's the same type of way where he can land those overhands. He marches you down when he's ready. He does have a pace. But that wrestling style he has is not on the level of Khamzat. I'm not going to say that, but it's similar to Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev, how he gets these takedowns, how he tries to get the back. I see some similarities in their wrestling style. So we're looking at a guy that has a Khabib stand-up sort of, Chimaev wrestling sort of against Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee has shown that he doesn't have the heart for this. And after the first round, or if he gets hurt, the fight's going to change right away. He's gonna want out of there. I don't think he's ready for the new UFC. I was a fan. He definitely has the ability. I think if he goes down in weight to 155, if he can make 155, I think he has a far better chance to get in that top 10. But at 170, he doesn't have the tools to get that done. So I'm going to go Rinat Fakhretdinov here, using his size. I think he's going to have a big size advantage in this fight. March him down, get him to the mat, tiring him out. And as the fight goes on, it's going to be much easier for Rinat. So I think Rinat wins this fight.
Let's move on to our main card. Again, equally 6 fights on the main card. Fight number 1, we have Bruno Ferreira versus Nursulton Ruziboev. For Ruziboev, he's making his UFC debut. He's on an 8-fight winning streak. 29 years old, almost 45 professional fights already, which is insane. High finish rate amongst those 45 fights. 32 finishes overall amongst his 34 wins, which is insane. 20 wins via sub, 12 wins via KO, TKO. He has a patient striking approach on the feet. Look for a lot of fakes and feints in his attack. Not really the highest level of activity, but he moves well. He can be dynamic. His takedown defense isn't that good at all, but he does have an active guard. He has really good ability to find those submission opportunities. He almost uses getting taken down as his opportunity to look for finishes. Bruno Ferreira knocked out Gregory Rodriguez in his UFC debut back in January. He has a 100% finish rate as an undefeated fighter. 8 of his 10 finishes are in the first round at that. So, of course, a lot of danger in that early part of the fight. Look for some switch stance out of him. Look for good kicks out of him. He's aggressive with that power, with that pace. He's going to feint and level change a lot as he tries to set up his attack. Looks like he's comfortable on the ground as well. I've seen him land takedowns. I've seen good ground and pound out of him. I've seen him make good decisions positionally, defend takedowns as well, things like that. This fight is full of variables. I don't think you can be confident on either side. We don't really know the level of either of these fighters. Ferreira, of course, big knockout win in his first fight, shows he has the power, but it doesn't really speak to his full MMA game, right? And Ruziboev, he's been taking on a lot of questionable competition, especially during this recent win streak that he's on. I watched several of his fights, at least 10 to 12 to 13 fights from him. I wasn't impressed with what I was seeing. I wasn't impressed with the quality of fighter that he was taking on. And that quality of fighter was still able to do things to him until, again, he would be on his back and find a submission, for example. So I'm not too impressed by that. I'm gonna land on Ferreira here getting the job done. He's gonna keep it on the feet. From what I anticipate, he's gonna be the more dangerous striker. And I think he's well versed enough on the ground to not fall into one of those submission traps that Ruziboev is used to on the lower level. So Bruno Ferreira is going to be my pick. Brunno for finish wouldn't surprise me either.
Okay, I think Bruno Ferreira should definitely win this fight. He has that power. I can see him I can see him landing at some point in this fight, getting the win. But the thing about Bruno Ferreira, man, I've been betting for a long time. I've been watching UFC for a long time. When you get to this level, that one-dimensional style, sometimes, just like last week, what was that guy's name? Trevor Peak. That one-dimensional style will get exposed at the UFC level at some point. And I'm not sure if this is the fight that Brunno gets exposed. But when I look at Ruziboev, however you say that name, a lot of fights, 42 fights. He's 22 years old. I'm sorry, 44 fights, 29 years old, versus Brunno, 30 years old, 10 fights. And this Ruziboev, I've seen some fights, he gets takedowns. I've seen fights where he gets taken down. I've seen fights where he held his own in the striking. But like Kira said, his competition is kind of sketchy when you really look at the guys that he's fought to get this opportunity. But he does have a win against 15-2 Edward Arusmian. But you probably got to look at who that guy fought. And then he has a win against a 20-10 guy, a win against a 12-12 guy, 13-4. So he does have some wins against guys with winning records. And I think when you look at his record, he hasn't lost since 2019, right? His last loss was Boris Muroshenko back in 2019. So something definitely changed. And what's more impressive is he hasn't lost since then. But since that time, he's been fighting better guys. 20-24, 10-8, 8-3, 4-4, 20-10, 15-2. You see where I'm going here. I'm gonna roll the dice with the underdog. I'm gonna roll that dice, man. I think if he could survive that first round, Brunno hasn't really shown us the full 3-round game. All his fights are pretty early, right? And early on, he had a fight that went second round, but every other fight was first round. I actually had another fight, 2022 against Sebastião Ferreira, that went second round, 12 seconds into the second round. I think if Ruziboev can stretch this fight, I think he's the more well-rounded guy. He doesn't have that big star power with that really being really good in one area like Ferreira with that power. But I do think if he can avoid that power, there is a good shot on the underdog in this spot. So I do think Ferreira wins, but I'm gonna go with my gut, man. I think that this guy has a real good shot here. So I'm gonna go with the underdog here, Nursulton Ruziboev.
All right, fight number 2 of our main card, Ismael Bonfim versus Benoit Saint-Denis. For Saint-Denis, 2-fight winning streak. He beat Gabriel Miranda back in September. 8 of his 10 wins via submission, 100% finish rate at that as well. He's a southpaw. He likes that calf kick, has a real kick-heavy game in general. He's an aggressive striker. He puts a lot into his strikes. He's going to use that striking to set up his ground game. And he has good takedown entries to go along with that. I've seen decent ground and pound from him. I've seen decent top control from him. Good grappling, of course. As I mentioned, 80% of his wins via submission. And, that X factor, he has the toughness. He has the heart. He can take a shot. He's strong as well. So let's look for those to be factors in this one. Taking on Ismael Bonfim, who beat Terrence McKinney. Has that highlight reel jumping knee knockout. That was his January UFC debut. Good, clean striking, good timing, good striking diversity, good striking IQ. He has good power as well. He can be really explosive. He can throw really effective combinations, sort of high IQ combinations. And he's precise. He's accurate. He picks his shots really well. He has that ground game to go along with it. He can land takedowns. He's shown me really good takedown defense as well. I mean, ultimately, we're looking at a well-rounded fighter, someone who I think is a prospect to watch out for in this division, and his cardio is good to go along with it. It's a pretty solid fight that we're getting here, right? Two good fighters, two fighters who are gonna bring it. We're gonna see an entertaining one for sure. Don't let the odds fool you, though. Bonfim, pretty sizable favorite. I think this is going to be, a pretty well contested match, maybe even a close fight. Both guys, I think, are very capable fighters, very tough fighters to go along at that. Both guys have great takedown defense. So I do think most of this fight stays on the feet. And my thought here is that Bonfim is going to be the cleaner striker, sort of get the better of the striking exchanges. Like I said, it'll be tough, it'll be close potentially, but I think Bonfim ultimately prevails here. So Ismael Bonfim is going to be my pick.
Yeah, man. Quick pick, man. I love these brothers, man. Ismael, I love him and his brother. I think they're legit. I think Ishmael's going to clean. I think he's going to win this fight cleanly. I think he's going to make it look easy, man, because he's going to be able to keep it on the feet in this fight. Saint-Denis wants to get this to the mat where he has good wrestling, good grappling. But it's not going to work here, man. Bonfim has improved his grappling, his takedown defense. On the feet, he's the far better striker. Very patient, very technical. He's going to hurt this guy, man. He's going to hurt this guy. It's not going to be close, man. I'm telling you guys, this fight will not be close, man. Ismael Bonfim is going to show out. He has a fighter that doesn't have the wrestling that he has good wrestling, but doesn't have the wrestling that can threaten him. And on the feet, Bonfim's gonna style, man. He's gonna get that performance bonus for sure. So I'm gonna go Ismael here to get the win, and I'm very confident, man. He's gonna make this look easy.
Third fight of our main card: Ariane Lipski versus Melissa Gatto. High stakes women flyweight fight here. Lipski had a unanimous decision win over JJ Aldrich. That was back in March. She's a striker. We know she has hands. We know she has good power. She can put combinations together. She likes to fight coming forward. Two major red flags historically with Lipski, though: takedown defense and cardio. Takedown defense does look improved. It is 73% on paper, which isn't bad. Her cardio still can't handle the highest of paces, but she did look good cardio-wise in her last fight, a fight where she was able to control the pace throughout and not really slow down. Melissa Gatto had that unanimous decision loss to Tracy Cortez 14 months ago. She is a grappler first. Half of her wins are via submission. Good defensive BJJ when she's taken down. Offensively, she's going to look to lock onto your body. She's going to try to take you down with decent wrestling, although not amazing. And she's going to want to make it a grappling match, ultimately. Good top game, really crafty submission attempts. On the feet, she is improving. She has a solid jab. She has good forward pressure. She has good fakes. Good pace, I should say. A lot of fakes and feints in her attack. Decent calf kick to go along with it. Underrated combinations as well is something that I noticed from her. And she has great cardio. Doesn't really slow down at all. Gatto, like I mentioned, has made a lot of improvements striking-wise. I still think Ariane Lipski is the better striker here. So let's make that clear. But Gatto, in her last fight, she was keeping up with Tracy Cortez, who is a pretty good striker. So, that pace was a weapon for Gatto in that fight, and I think it can be a weapon in this fight as well. Now, Tracy Cortez was able to get the win versus Melissa Gatto, but for Ariane Lipski, what's missing comparatively is that ground game that Cortez used both offensively and defensively to get the job done. Lipski, like I mentioned, 73% takedown defense. It's decent, but it's not amazing. Gatto, not the strongest wrestler per se. So Lipski may actually be successful in keeping it on the feet. And, to that point, she's a pretty valuable underdog in this one as the better, more dangerous striker. But Melissa Gatto, she's crafty. She finds ways to take the back. She finds ways to drag you down. I think the biggest component for me liking Melissa Gatto in this fight is her pace. Again, Lipski historically has had those cardio issues, and I think Gatto is going to push a pace where that becomes evident So as long as Gato survives that first round, maybe even the first 3 or 4 minutes, I think she should get the job done here. Again, good dog value on Lipski, but a little one-dimensional, plus the cardio issue. I don't think that's going to fly. Melissa Gatto is going to be my pick as the favorite to get the job done here.
Yeah, this is one of those fights where both fighters, like you gotta wait till that bell rings because both girls can win this fight. You can see Lipski coming out here using her length and piecing her up. The way she strikes long compared to Gatto. So I can see her being the better striker, like Harris said. More tools, the more well-rounded girl in the striking area. Gatto's still picking up tools in that area. She's still trying to learn. She's mainly a grappler, mainly a jiu-jitsu fighter, but she's definitely learning that part of the game. But Lipski should have the advantage. Lipski has finished her last fight with strikes. I believe it was strikes. And you got to think if Gatto hasn't finished anyone with strikes. And Lipski's going to have a big advantage on the feet just because she's actually finished someone on the feet. And on the ground, though, you gotta like Gatto on the spot. Gatto definitely has the better grappling, the more position. She's more like she's gonna have the position. She's gonna get the top control versus Lipski's gonna be on her back. But Lipski is live for a submission off her back. But Gatto is prepared for that. So I think Gatto's gonna be able to have the advantage in terms of the grappling. Close fight, man. Can go either way. I'm definitely not betting this one. This fight, I think, is a fight that you got to be careful with because even if you go with the favorite, Lipski can still win the fight. Lipski can easily win this fight here, keeping it on the feet, better striker, even hurting Gatto at some point because Gatto's getting too comfortable in this striking. Her striking is getting better, but if she plays around, Lipski can definitely catch her. So definitely, I'm not betting this fight. I wouldn't suggest anyone bet this fight. For the channel, I have to make a pick on every fight. I'm gonna go with Gatto. I'm gonna go with Melissa Gatto here. Getting this to the 3-round range, using her grappling, winning a decision. Close fight, but I think Gatto just the grappling edge, being able to dictate where the fight goes, and she has that dog in her. So that's a big thing I say. So I think that's going to help her in this spot. So I'm going to go Melissa Gatto, but I'm definitely not making any bets on this one.
Fourth fight of the main card, Max Griffin versus Michael Morales. Griffin had that split decision win over Tim Means back in October. Improved stand-up, moves pretty decently around the cage, a lot of lateral movement, a lot of in and out movement, has an active jab, and he effectively is going to use those calf kicks. He's more technically sound than he's ever been over his past few fights. He can press the action forward. He can be the initiator offensively. He can go at a continuous pace without really having those cardio issues. And technically, he is a wrestler first, although just 1.6 takedowns per fight, not an overwhelming part of his game. But he does have good takedowns. He does have good top control. He does have decent takedown defense at 71%. Let's see if that's relevant for this fight. For Michael Morales, it's been a year since he beat Adam Fugit to stay undefeated. He's a patient striker. He's going to look for that perfect shot, effective distance control to go along with it. Not really as active as he could be as a striker, but he picks shots well. He is also on, or I guess he is the one that's on the more technical side of things from a striking perspective, but he's very explosive, has good power. Undefeated 14-0, 11 of those 14 wins are via KO, TKO, including his last 2 fights. And he's shown me that he's willing to engage in a clinch and attempt a takedown when needed. 86% takedown defense to go along with that, although very small sample size in the UFC. Worth noting that he was taken down once in his last fight, but stayed composed in that bottom position, worked his way back up. And again, that was the only takedown for the fight. But let me keep this one a little bit on the quicker side of things, prediction-wise. I think Morales should be better than Max Griffin. I'm not going to say everywhere in this fight. I think Max Griffin does have the wrestling potentially. I think what makes this fight tricky is we've kind of seen the script before, right? The prospect that's supposed to get it done versus the capable veteran who's still competing, and that is Max Griffin. That said, I don't think that Morales is going to have an issue staying undefeated in this one. Though he does have many first-round finishes on his resume, 2 of his last 3 fights have been unanimous decision wins and a round 3 finish to go along with that. So that shows me that he is able to go into deeper waters, potentially deeper waters that Max Griffin may bring him into. I also don't think that Griffin is going to be able to land enough takedowns. Even if he lands 1 or 2, I just don't think it's going to be a key part of trying to, win rounds for him. I think Morales is going to be technically better on the feet, more explosive on the feet, more dangerous on the feet. I think a good challenge for him, but I think Michael Morales should get the job done here, should stay undefeated when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was leaning Max Griffin on this fight, man. I'm looking at his time with the UFC. This guy's a vet, and he's fought a lot of people, and he has that dog that we talk about in him, and good cardio. He can strike. He can wrestle. He can go that 3 rounds. He can keep a pace. High pace, and he has those things that you like in fighters. But when you look at Michael Morales, this guy's smooth, man, and he does have a wrestling background. When I was studying him for the Contender Series, I remember reading something, and you guys can pull it up if I'm wrong. Write in the comments I'm wrong, but I remember reading up how this guy has a wrestling background. He wrestles in his country, and you can find it yourself. And so he's going to be able to get takedowns. We've seen on the Contender Series, he utilized those takedowns. He has really good takedowns, explosive. He's an explosive fighter, good striking, improving. At this point, I think he's the better striker. I think he's a better wrestler. The only issue I have in this fight is the cardio and the heart, and those are big parts of a fighter at this level in the UFC. And when you look at Max Griffin, what made me switch on Max Griffin? Karis, go to the guys that Max Griffin's has really fought in the UFC. So he beat Tim Means, right? Tim Means a split decision. Tim Means is not good anymore. Like, he's not really as good as he was, right? He lost to Neil Magny. He beat Carlos Condit, another guy that's way past his time. He beat Kenan Song, who is a can crusher, who is not really that good. He beat Ramiz Bramach, who's not there as well. He beat Alex Oliveira, who was on his way out of the UFC, undersized, lightweight, moving up to welterweight. He beat Alex Morono, close fight. Or a good fight, not close, but good fight. That's a good win. But all those guys, I think that Morales would beat. I think Morales, if he fought those same guys, he would stay undefeated, aside from Neil Magny. That fight we got to watch before but I even think he would beat Neil Magny, to be honest. I like Morales in this spot, man. I think that he should have the cardio. He's the younger guy. He should be able to go the 3 rounds, no problem. He has a finish in the 3rd round against Fugit in his last fight. Close fight, because you got to give Griffin his credit, man. This guy can dog it out and make this be a sticky fight, make this be a close fight, use his IQ. But I just think Morales, skill-wise, is the better guy. And I'm going to go with Morales here, getting the win here in this spot.
Co-main event of the evening, Damir Ismagulov versus Grant Dawson. Pretty interesting lightweight fight here. Ismagulov last fight was in December. He had that unanimous decision loss to Arman Tsarukyan. Really solid on the feet, good hands, patient puncher. He's going to look for his spots. He has good, clean boxing, good power to go along with that. Very fluid in the stand-up. He has long reach, just 2 inches in this one, but the way he uses it is really effective. Good timing, good striking defense. Again, just really sound in his setups and in his overall stand-up. 75% takedown defense on paper, which is a very relevant stat for this fight. Arman Tsarukyan was able to actually take him down 7 times in their fight. So that could be concerning heading into this one. Otherwise, good takedown defense just in general, sort of outside of that Tsarukyan fight. He can resort to takedowns as well of his own, wrestling of his own when needed, which will also be super relevant for this fight. Grant Dawson beat Mark Madsen back in November, 10-fight unbeaten streak now. He had that one, I think, majority draw sort of in between his win streak. Decent overall stand-up, good calf kick, likes to stay in the pocket, likes to exchange. His technique, striking-wise, is improving. He is more tactical now. He has an active jab, has a pretty good pace offensively as well, pretty good activity offensively. His strength is in his wrestling, though. Used to train with James Krause. He now trains at American Top Team. So you know that the ground game is legit. Good entries, good single leg, good trip, almost 4 takedowns per fight. Just 40% takedown defense, though, which could definitely cost him in this one. He does have the ability to work his way back up, though, so that shouldn't be too much of a concern. With what we saw Arman Tsarukyan do to Damir Ismagulov, we potentially have to assume that Grant Dawson will be able to land takedowns as well, right? Despite the good takedown defense that Ismagulov has. I think what's important to note here is that Ismagulov was able to get up right away each time he was taken down by Tsarukyan without really taking any damage, without really giving up any control time. Dawson's definitely going to have to work for those takedowns, and he will be willing to work for those takedowns. I think the problem with Grant, however, is that I don't think he has the cardio to keep up with how hard the takedowns may be to land. I think even if he lands takedowns, Ismagulov won't accept it the way that Mark Madsen did, for example, against Dawson. I also don't think that Dawson will be able to keep up with the striking, although he's made a lot of improvements. Mark Madsen clipped Dawson within the first 15 seconds of their fight. And Dawson kind of resorted to the ground game sort of ever since that. Ismagulov is a high-level striker, so he should have his way on the feet. I got to go with Ismagulov here. I think he is the smarter pick. The odds are a bit surprising to me. I thought Ismagulov would be a little bit more sizable as a favorite. And this is just based on my anticipation of him taking away Grant Dawson's biggest strength while being decisively better with striking. So Damir Ismagulov is going to be my pick, but high-level fight, anything can happen. Either way, I'm going Ismagulov.
Yeah, it's definitely sketchy why this fight's close because we know Grant Dawson on the feet is pretty basic on the feet, but his wrestling is his go-to. And he's fighting Damir who has wrestling and he has good takedown defense. Yeah, he got taken down by Tsarukyan, but Tsarukyan is probably top 3 wrestler in that division, and he puts on a pace. He's really strong. I don't think Grant Dawson can imitate what he did there. I don't think Damir would take this fight if he was concerned. These guys were training partners. At some point, they have trained together, and Damir is not used to losing. This guy, his last loss, aside from his last loss, was back in 2015. So this guy's not used to losing. He knows who he's fighting. He has a relationship with this guy. I think he believes he's going to win the fight. I think he's going to keep it on the feet. I'm with him in that stance that he keeps this fight on the feet. And he's the far better striker. He's fought in other wrestlers that try to take him down. And I think in this fight, it's gonna tell you a lot. But the concern, red flag, Damir, his last fight, he retired and then he came back. So I'm not sure where his mindset is, if he's really taking this full time, 100%, because he was just retired after his last fight. So that's a big red flag. Makes me want to go Grant Dawson off that alone. This Damir guy, man, he has that. I think he has that Russian blood in him, man. Or if he's not Russian, he fights like it. And I think he's gonna have enough to keep it on the feet. And far better striker, he should be able to outstrike him as well. So I'm gonna go Damir Ismagulov here to win a decision, 3 rounds. I don't think he's gonna finish him. Grant's tough, but I think 3 rounds is a decision is a good prop.
All right, let's take a look at our main event. In that case, we have Sean Strickland versus Abus Magomedov. Middleweight main event here. Strickland had that unanimous decision win over Nasruddin Imavov. That was back in January. We know his MO at this point. Good, consistent striker. He kind of stays in your face, marches you down, constant pressure. His hands stay really controlled, right? Never really looping those punches, never really wasting effort. Good jab, good counter puncher, good timing, sharp hands, sharp combinations. That ground ability is also there. He can land takedowns at an effective clip at 64%. He's shown decent top position. He's shown good clinch work to go along with that. Just one takedown per fight, though, so it's not an active part of his game. He is likely to keep it on the feet. To that point of keeping it on the feet, 85% takedown defense to go along with it. And of course, we know he's a cardio machine. Huge advantage in a main event 5-round setting. Abus Magomedov beat Dustin Stoltzfus in his September debut. High finish rate, 14 KO TKOs, 6 submissions, so that's 20 finishes amongst his 25 professional wins. Good style of striking, good movement on the feet, a lot of switch stance, a diverse set of kicks, diverse striking offense in general, really explosive with his hands. He likes to stalk you down in his own right. He has really good power to go along with that. The wrestling IQ is definitely there. The chain wrestling, top control, the ability to land takedowns. He has that sort of true Dagestani style when he chooses to resort to it. Cardio, I think, is a bit of a concern, though. You know, I have seen him slow down in fights, and I think that cardio will be the ultimate downfall for Abus Magomedov here. Again, main event, 5-round setting. That's a key factor in this fight. And again, I'm surprised the odds the way they are. I think in a 3-round setting, it kind of makes sense for the threat that Magomedov is. But in a 5-round setting, you know, we know Sean Strickland's pedigree. He's tough. He keeps going. He'll force the pace. He'll tire you out. He'll remain a threat throughout the fight. We know Strickland has really good takedown defense as well. So even if Magomedov wants to resort to those takedowns, I have a hard time seeing how he's going to be able to maintain a strategy like that for 5 rounds. Striking wise, Magomedov very dangerous, but Strickland is a high level striker, right? So again, he has that toughness as well. He has the high level striking. You know, even if Magomedov wins the first 2 rounds, I have a hard time seeing how Strickland loses rounds 3, 4, and 5. Magomedov does have some decision wins on his resume, but he's never been in a 5-round setting. And I think that's going to be a different beast, especially in the UFC, especially against a sort of a UFC favorite in Sean Strickland. I actually really like the value of Sean Strickland here. I can't say I'm going to bet on it. I mean, main events have been tricky for a while, but, you know, Magomedov definitely a threat. But, you know, Sean Strickland, put it this way, when I saw this fight, I thought he would be closer to a minus 225, minus 250, just based on, you know, the respect alone. So to see him here at minus 150, I think there's potentially a good value play here. But nonetheless, let me make the pick. Sean Strickland will be my pick for this main event.
Okay, yo, I never go against Russian guys, man, or guys close to Russia or born in Russia, but I believe this guy's Russian. He might be in Germany, but I'm pretty sure he's Russian. The way he fights, he has the grappling, he's improving his striking, good striking. He's a dangerous guy. I think against Strickland, needs to get him out of there in that first round. I think Strickland, 3 rounds would definitely benefit this guy, Abu Magomedov. I think 3 rounds would definitely benefit this guy because I could see him getting the first round, winning the first half of the second round. If it goes decision, it would be questionable. It could go his way. But being a 5-round fight, man, it changes a lot of things in this fight. And Strickland is built for this, man. If you follow Strickland on Instagram or if you follow him on social media in general, this guy's always in the gym. This guy's always in there. He's a fighter, man. This guy was born to fight. And 5 rounds, he looks good in 5-round fights. Against Jared Cannonier, he took those shots, the big shots. Like, he got caught with some big shots. And he doesn't, like, bounce around the ring. He follows you around with his hands up. And he mastered that style. And against Abu Magomedov, I can see him giving him problems. with that style. He might lose the first round. But I could see as the fight goes on, I could see Strickland, if he's still there, causing a lot of problems. And Abu, he was in PFL. I watched him. He was in the main event. He was in the finals for the $1 million. Got knocked out by Bilal Muhammad's boy. So he can be knocked out as well. His chin is definitely something to look at. But I think Strickland, man, 5 rounds is the fight that benefits him. If he doesn't get knocked out early, there's no way this guy beats Strickland in a 5-round fight. So I'm gonna go Sean Strickland here to win a 5-round.
All right, let's take it to Vegas. Let's consider some underdogs. Let's consider some favorites and or parlays. Let me start by reading out the underdogs as they currently stand. Blagoy Ivanov is an underdog versus Alexandr Romanov. Luana Carolina is an underdog. Elves Brener, Yana Santos, Westin Wilson, Kevin Lee, Nursulton Ruziboev, Benoit Saint-Denis, Ariane Lipsky, Max Griffin, Grant Dawson, and Abu Magomedov.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first, man. I'm actually looking at it right now.
All right, for myself, I'm looking at that first fight of the night. Blagoy Ivanov. Can't really trust Romanov at this point. Blagoy Ivanov, a 2.10. Could be some value there. Either way, it's a heavyweight beware, but I think Blagoy Ivanov definitely has a shot as an underdog. What about yours?
Okay, let me make a decision here. Underdog wise, I'm gonna go with I don't want to copy you, man, but I'm actually gonna go with the Blagoy as well.
There you go, doubling down on the dog value there. And in terms of parlay action, who are you taking a look at?
Okay, guys, put the house down, man. Put the house down on this, man. Don't watch the odds. We got Guram Kutateladze. We got Joanderson Brito. And we got Ismael Bonfim. Listen, this is not going to be the odds you want, but this is the type of play that put what you can afford down. This is going to win. This is going to win. We know it's gambling, so don't put the house down. Put the tree house down. Put a big amount down that you could walk away with some cash here. But these 3, I'm really confident in.
So in that case, let's maybe show the numbers for potentially our bigger bettors. $250 will return $411. With that strong of a confidence level, that's worth a return, right? So, to your point, it's not always about the flashy odds. That's still a decent return that you can be happy about for the weekend. For myself, my picks are going to look a bit similar. I am looking at Kutateladze as well. I am looking at Bonfim as well. But for my third fight, bit more of a dice roll, but also still feeling really good about this one. Michael Morales, that'll be a 2.15 for those 3 fights. That means that $100 will get you a total return of $215. For our bigger bettors, $250 will get you a total return of $537. So let's sign off on that note. Again, this has been UFC Fight Night, your full card prediction videos for Sean Strickland versus Abu Magomedov. Please make sure that you press the like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here as well at Boxing MMA Picks. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. Let us know how you feel about our favorite picks, our underdog picks. If there's additional commentary, additional props that you're potentially considering, drop all of that information in the comments. We'd be more than happy to have the conversation with you there. But again, officially signing off, UFC Fight Night, Sean Strickland versus Abu Magomedov, your full card prediction video presented by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by Zan, I go by Harris in our usual fashion. Let's get this money.
Let's get it.